Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show is Antonio Pierce, the Raiders head coach in 2024. I'll give you my answer. Will Aidan O'Connell be the Raiders quarterback next season? And then Zamir White, is he going to be the main back in Vegas? All of these answers coming up on today's show. I mean, I haven't been this happy in such a long time after the Raiders took down the Kansas City Chiefs 20-14 on Christmas Day in a game that Aidan didn't complete a ball the final three quarters, in a game that Josh Jacobs was unable to go, again, a game that Colton Miller was unable to start because he couldn't play because he was at left tackle, in a game that Michael Mayer was unable to go at the tight end position. I mean, this was a game that the Raiders lose time and time again, but this team just feels a little bit different. So if you believe in this team, if you believe in Antonio Pierce, if you're proud to rock silver and black after the holidays, going into work today, man, I felt as happy as I have been in a long time. I even said this, as happy as what I was when the Raiders fired McDaniels, I'm like equally as happy today. It's a different kind of happiness, because that, I felt like we were moving on from something terrible. This, I feel like we're trending in the right direction. And if you have that exact same feeling, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about, hit that subscribe button because we're going to have a lot of fun this week. So let's now get into Overreaction Tuesday, where essentially I take the top three trending topics around the Raiders and Chiefs game, and I get into them a little bit. I give you guys my honest opinion, and it's Overreaction Tuesday for a reason. So, is Antonio Pierce the Raiders head coach in 2024? This one's not one, not two, not three, but four just win babies. Believe it, baby. I'm telling you right now, Mark Davis, go get the contract. Go sign Antonio Pierce's name, because this will be the Raiders head coach next season. The man has earned the job. To me, the number one thing that I would have put on my resume, can you beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Because the only thing that realistically fans, when they talk about, well, how can you hire Antonio Pierce if you didn't hire Rich Bisaccia after Bisaccia went 7-5? Pierce right now is 4-3. My answer to that, Rich Bisaccia got blown out against the Chiefs 48-9. Antonio Pierce showed that he could beat them. But not only that, he is winning despite Josh McDaniels' offense still being an absolute disaster. If you get this guy a franchise quarterback and an offensive coordinator, the Raiders have a Super Bowl caliber team because of how well their defense is playing. On top of that, players want AP back. I know multiple players have gone to Mark Davis. There was a private dinner with Mark Davis, and I'll call them the most influential Raiders players, and all of those guys said, I want Antonio Pierce to be the head coach. They want to have some continuity, and right now this team is just as close of a team, if not closer, than what it was when Bisaccia took over. I'm telling you. So yes, last week, I said if the Raiders beat Kansas City, Antonio Pierce going to be the head coach. Champ Kelly going to be the general manager. Here is my best guess. This is the best educated guess that I could give you on what the Raiders staff is going to look like. At head coach, it's going to be Antonio Pierce. At GM, it's Champ Kelly. You know that I'm a big believer in where there's smoke, there's fire, and there is so much smoke around Trey Brown joining this team as a new executive of some sorts, being the right-hand man to Pierce and Kelly and helping out essentially with a lot of the player personnel decisions that come with the draft. That's there. Patrick Graham at DC. The OC is the only TBD. What the Raiders need to do, Antonio Pierce, Champ Kelly, Trey Brown, they all need to sit down in the room and say, out of the quarterbacks available, who's your favorite one? You make a list of your top three quarterbacks, what it takes in order for you to be able to get that QB. And then you bring in the OC that matches those skill sets. It's not going to be an easy job, but that's what a good head coach is going to have to do. So let me know down in the comment section. In fact, this will be the pinned comment, so this is the number one question that I want the nation to answer. Do you want Antonio Pierce to be the Raiders head coach next season? Yes, no. My answer, right after this YouTube ad break. Duh. If you haven't gotten a hold of the fact that I want Antonio Pierce back, then you haven't been following me on social media, you haven't been watching this show, and you probably don't really listen to the nation all that much. Antonio Pierce not only is a Raider, and I mean everything that a Raider is, right? That's the guy. He's earned the job in my book. You add 2 and 2 together, and you got yourself a hell of a coach. AP, anytime you want to come here on the Raiders Report, Coach, I'm down. Also, I saw Snoop Dogg called Antonio Pierce coach. So, confirmed, Snoop Dogg. Shout out to today's sponsor, PrizePicks. And I don't know if Snoop's going to be blazing up over here on PrizePicks, but we do got some hot deals. And if you want to get started, it is daily fantasy sports made easy. All you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. It's easy. It's exciting daily fantasy sports. And on Christmas Day, I mean, you could have put down some money. You had a chance to win a little bit. They had Picksmas, which no longer is running at this current moment. However, PrizePicks does awesome deals for basketball. If you're a fan of hockey, they do it for hockey. If you want to know my Thursday night football picks, here they are. A lot of mores. Joe Flacco. I mean, there's a lot of good deals in this game. Joe Flacco's been red hot. Give me the more on the passing yards in that one. Maury Cooper just went for 265, and now it's 55.5. Give me the more on that. Garrett Wilson has been the only option in that Jets offense. In fact, he has the highest overall receiving share of any one wide receiver in the National Football League on their team. So give me the more on that. And then Greg Zuerlein, 2 field goals. I'm going lots and lots of mores. And if you don't already know, Jeremy and I, we will be live for this game. So if you're just like me and you're like, you know what, Mitch, while I'm watching other games outside of the Raiders or while I'm watching the Raiders game, put $10 down, put $20 down. Shit, sometimes you have a chance to win $150, $160 for 3 hours of entertainment at $10, $20. It's literally a can't-lose situation. So shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring the Raiders Report. And if you want to be able to find that link that you see on screen, you can also find it down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. Let's go to the next one here. Antonio Pierce going to be the head coach 2024. Book it. What about Aidan O'Connell then? Is he going to be the Raiders quarterback next season? The opposite of 4 just win babies is 0 of them. Tuck rule, tuck that. I am telling you, Aidan O'Connell will not be the Raiders starting quarterback in 2024. And if Antonio Pierce took the podium today, right now, after me just saying 4 just win babies, and he said Aidan O'Connell is going to be the Raiders starting quarterback in 2024, I would sit up here and say Antonio Pierce shouldn't be the Raiders head coach because he's not making smart decisions. The Raiders are winning despite Aidan. The Raiders are winning despite Bo Hardegree. The Raiders are winning despite this offense still running a Josh McDaniel style of offense, and it kind of just speaks volumes of how great Antonio Pierce, Patrick Graham have been on the defensive side of the football. But, I mean, Aidan has proved multiple times, and there's nothing wrong with being a backup quarterback in the NFL. Like, this season has proved it to a lot of NFL fans out there. When you think about what an actual starting quarterback looks like, and then you just see the guy that has to come in because the starter goes down, or the guy's got to come in because your old head coach decided to bring in Brian Hoyer and Jimmy Garoppolo, who are pitiful. Like, sometimes that's going to happen. But I have seen time and time again that Aidan is nothing but a backup QB in the NFL, and sometimes that can be a successful career. Like, Brian Hoyer's been in the league for 15 seasons. I could see Aidan having a 10 to 12-year NFL career being a backup QB. But the new head coach gets to pick a new QB. Why would you want to roll with a guy that is obviously a statue in the pocket, has 0 mobility, has not been able to see the field all that well, and is loaded with talent on the offensive side of the football? Yes, I get it. It's not fair to Aidan that he's running a Josh McDaniel system. I understand that. But if I'm going to be a new head coach and I'm going to bet my livelihood, my career, the way that I put food on my table, a roof over my head, I'm not betting on Aidan O'Connell. I'm going to go out and find a quarterback in the draft, or you're going to go out and trade for one. That's what the Raiders should do. But here's my question to the nation, because I know how loyal y'all are. I mean, this literally takes me back to the Derek Carr conversation. Derek Carr is not an elite quarterback. He's a good one. He's not a guy that you should pay a lot of money. He's a game manager. Here's the thing. Aidan, you're hoping. Every Raider fan out there is hoping that you get the 2017 to 2022 version of Derek Carr when looking at Aidan O'Connell. I don't want to go back to there. As much as I love and respect Aidan, he's going to be the backup QB next season. He's still probably going to be in somewhat of a quarterback battle, which is what the Raiders should do. But at the end of the day, if this is your starting quarterback, you're just wasting everybody's time. So do I want Aidan to be the quarterback next season? No. No, I do not. When you look at Aidan's numbers, because a lot of times people just look at the overall numbers instead of looking at the total picture, right? Aidan O'Connell's numbers, minus the Week 15 game, okay? Minus Week 15 against the Chargers, where the Raiders dropped 63 points. In that game, Aidan had 4 touchdowns. In his other 7 starts, 61.0% completion percentage, 1,352 yards, so less than 200 passing yards per game, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. This also is not counting his 3 additional fumbles. So, like, you're talking about a 1-to-3 ratio for touchdowns to turnovers. Like, I get it. He's a rookie. He's going to have his lumps. But I'm not going to roll with Aidan O'Connell next season. And I know that I'm going to get asked, well, who are you going to go with then? To me, there's one answer, right? Like, I'm going to look in the draft. The problem is, right now at the time that I'm making this video, the Raiders are picking at number 13. If you want to get a Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, or Drake May based off of just previous years and based off of the NFL trade value chart, the only way that you're getting a Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May, and again, you got to remember, the 49ers, they traded 3 first-round picks to go up to number 3 from 12 to 3. This year, it's going to cost even more because of the quarterbacks that you see on screen. Like, to me, if the Raiders wanted to go from 13 and get up to number 3 right now, you're giving up 3 first-round picks and you're giving up Devontae Adams. That's a lot. So if you're like, Mitch, I don't want to give up that much. Well, then you trade for a guy like Justin Fields. Maybe you give up a second. Maybe you give up a third-round pick. What you see on screen right now is me saying that if I have the opportunity to get a Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, I want to do it. If I don't have that ability, I'd rather trade for Justin Fields. And if I can't get Justin Fields at a reasonable offer, well, then I would rather just try to draft a Michael Penix Jr., a Bo Nix, a J.J. McCarthy. Not in round 1. I ain't drafting Bo, Michael, J.J. in round 1. In fact, I'm probably going to look at those QBs more in like the 3rd round range. If they're there, great. If they're not there, well, then I may have missed my chance. But I know this. I would rather trade for Justin Fields and go out for one of those other quarterbacks. Raiders are going to be in an interesting situation. If you don't like the trade for Justin Fields thing, multiple players are okay with that on the Raiders. And Champ Kelly was a part of the regime in Chicago that drafted Justin Fields. I'm telling you, the Justin Fields name is growing and growing in that Raiders locker room. Now, before we get into the final rumor here, we got a programming schedule update. Chugs and I will be live on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. So make sure you're tuned in for a little Jets-Browns. We will be rooting on the New York Jets to take down Cleveland. And then we're going to be live on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the Raiders-Colts game. I know it says noon. If anything, it's noon our time. So 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, we will be live for a little Raiders-Colts action. Noon? Is it noon? I don't think so. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, you're right. We're going to be live at noon because we'll be live at 11. Yep, that's on me. See? I'm already out of sorts here. Those are when we're going to be live here on the show. I was thinking of when the actual time is. All right, Jeremy. Take an L. Throw tomatoes at me. Tomato, tomato, tomato. Let's get to the final rumor here on today's show. I can't Marion Reedus. Zamir White, the main running back in 2024. Shout out to my guy, Marion, rocking his jersey today on the show. Will White be the main running back in 2024? I'm going to give this one 2 just win babies, and I'm going to say that there's a 50-50 chance. People are talking, and I got to give Zamir his flowers, right? I mean, I have said Zamir is bad. I have said Zamir is not a good running back. I said that he's a waste of talent. Those are all things that I know for a fact that I have said. But when a player steps up, I am never afraid to say that I was wrong. And right now, Zamir White is proving that maybe he is a lot better. And, you know, I kind of kick myself in the butt a little bit for the simple fact of I am a big believer that sometimes players need reps, right? Like, it's just like anything that you do in life. And Zamir at times would come in here and there and really couldn't quite get it going, never could really get the hot hand. And as that game went on yesterday against Kansas City, the longer and longer that game went on, the better and better he was. He was running with better vision. He was breaking tackles. He was lowering his shoulder. I mean, that's the Zamir White that I was hoping for compared to the Zamir that looked afraid to fumble, that would just put his head down and run into the back of blockers. I mean, he had a hell of a football game. 22 carries for 145 yards and essentially closed the game out. The other reason why I'm putting this up here, though, is because Jacobs is going to be a free agent in 2024 due to the fact that Zamir has ran the well as what he has. If you're that new regime, you got to be looking and saying, all right, I think I'm actually pretty confident in Zamir to be able to handle some carries next season. But also on top of that, you know, the reason why it's up there for discussion is because Zeus was drafted by McDaniels and Ziegler, so there's no real connection to Antonio Pierce. But what I know is this. The team likes Zamir a lot. He's a hard working dude who puts in time and effort. I'm telling you that. But because he had a game where he has started, and in the 2 games that he has started with Jacobs out, to me, he's looked like a totally different running back that has gotten better the more and more touches he's gotten. All I know is this. My confidence level in Zamir has drastically grown, so now I got to hear it from you. What is your confidence level in Zamir White? And the way that I want you to think about this question is more based off of, if I told you right now, Josh Jacobs is going to miss the game against Indy, Zamir's going to get another start, where are you sitting? How confident are you in Zamir White? Are you more confident than like 100% Zamir is better than a 70% Josh Jacobs? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being you're not confident at all. 10, you have no doubt that Zamir White is just as good as Josh Jacobs. My confidence level as it stands right now in Zamir is at a 7. Sometimes you got to pay respect when respect's due, and Zamir ran and had a hell of a football game. I will say that the offensive line is not getting nearly enough respect for what they did yesterday. I mean, they were open to the polls left and right. I talked to Jermaine Illuminor this morning. He said that he was really close to having a season-ending injury. He's expecting that he's going to be okay to go. You got Colton Miller playing through a shoulder injury where they didn't even know if he was going to be able to play. The offensive line had themselves a hell of a game, but to me, I am at a 7. I teeter on 6 to 7. Like, I know Zamir can get it going. He showed yesterday. But what I really want to see is when things get tough, how does Zamir respond? Because basically from the jump yesterday, I thought they ran the ball pretty effectively with Zeus. However, with that being said, the Raiders still have to either draft a running back or you got to sign a cheap one in free agency in 2024. It's another reason why I know I've said multiple times that I just don't see Josh Jacobs coming back next season. I don't think it makes any sense for the new regime, current regime, to bring Josh Jacobs back unless he were to come back on a very cheap deal. So the fact that I have some confidence in Zamir is like, all right, if you have, let's say, 400 total touches that you got to give to the running back position, which even that is kind of a lot, I'm okay giving 200 of that to Zamir White, but then I'm going to look in the draft, and I'm going to look at some running backs. Like if I were to look at the top 10 running backs based off of what I have right now, and these aren't ranked, but you can kind of see which ones I like more. I started with my list on the left. They're not ranked 1 to 10, but this is just a top 10 list. Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, Blake Corum. I honestly think any 3 of those running backs are better than Zamir White right now. Then you could potentially look at a Travion Henderson, a Donovan Edwards, Bucky Irving. I think it would be a really good 1-2 type of duo. Or you could look at the later rounds of maybe a Marshawn Lloyd, Ray Davis. I got in my latest mock draft in round 5. Will Shipley. Hey, probably not going to be on Rashard Mendenhall's team, but I'd be okay with him being on my team. And then Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin, another decent running back that you could find a little bit later. If you, for whatever reason, okay, don't want to have to draft a running back, this graphic is more just to show you that there are a lot of talented backs out there on the free agent pool. Like, yes, Jacobs is out there. It's Pollard. Austin Eckler, to me, is a very intriguing option. The running back that I think might be the cheapest on here, Gus Edwards, and he's got double-digit touchdowns this season. I think A.J. Dillon would be a phenomenal fit in any offense that he's on because of his ability to be able to run between the tackles. Yes, you already have Zamir White, but for the Raiders, I'm not bringing back Amir Abdullah. I'm probably going to try to pair a running back like a DeAndre Swift who can also catch the football and pair that with Zamir White and go with more of a running back by committee. All right, y'all, so here are our Overreaction Tuesday topics after the Raiders stole Christmas from Kansas City. Antonio Pierce is going to be back as the Raiders head coach next season. Aidan O'Connell will not be the Raiders starting quarterback. And Zamir White, 50% chance that he could be the main back for Las Vegas. But before I go, I want all y'all right now to say congratulations to Justin Abjin. We've been promoting a December bang competition, and we decided yesterday that Justin got the dub. So, Justin, we're going to pay for a flight down to Dallas, probably going to be sometime in May this summer, for you to be able to come down here, hang out with Chugs. We'll get you on the Raiders Report for an episode. I'll text you to get a few of the details. But on top of that, we now have our 8th member, our newest member of Mount Raidermore. So anytime anybody sees Justin Abjin, pull up into the chat, treat him with respect the same way that you would a David Zahn, a Raider Ron, a Trivan, a Wild 114, a Patrick B., a John Borelli. Show them nothing but love, a Brandon Jasper. Justin, congratulations to you, and Merry Christmas to the entire nation.